Player versus player, also known as PvP, is the act of having two or more player characters face off against each other. More often than not, direct PvP should be avoided. However, I'm here to argue that PvP can be super fun if you're willing to try to do it right. If you can be aware of what makes PvP hated and how to apply it into your game correctly in a way that everyone is going to enjoy, it can be one of the most memorable moments of your campaign. Now you might be asking, why do I think I'm qualified to talk about this? Well, it just so happens that I recently had my last session of my D&D campaign, which ended with PvP. And that genuinely was, for my party, one of their favorite moments of the whole campaign. I'm going to talk about what I did there to make that work as good as it did. And by the way, if you want to support this channel, the best thing you can do is to click that subscribe button. It's free, and if you change your mind later, you can always unsubscribe then. Now, on with the video. My first rule is going to be that PvP is only allowed to happen if one of the players comes up to me ahead of time and tells me that's their intention. That before the session, they think that there's going to be PvP in either the next session or another upcoming one. This gives me enough time to try to make it work and try to fit it into the campaign, but also importantly, know that if this is a good time to have a PvP. And I know you might be saying, oh yeah, well what about player agency? Well, player agency is incredibly important. It's the whole reason why we play games like D&D. However, if someone's agency is going to remove fun from someone else, I'm usually going to take that player's agency away. If you want full control of your character, the best thing you can do is to write a book. The issue with PvP is that if a character dies by being killed by another player, and this wasn't a circumstance that both people were happy with, then that can bleed into real life conflict. And when we want PvP, we want player characters against player characters, not actual players fighting actual players. PvP should only happen in the most important parts of a story. It should really only happen at the end of an adventure arc or at the end of a campaign. Moments where it's either going to be really easy to revive them without them missing a lot of important story stuff, or to have the player swap in a new character without being dropped right into the middle of a story. Or just to totally end off that character's story, such as with the end of a campaign. Now that you've set this rule, obviously the first step is to talk to the party member that is going to try to attack the rest. Assuming that this is going to be one person against the rest of the party, and not the party doing a civil war and splitting up and fighting each other somewhat evenly. You might be approached by the player saying that they think that a PvP is going to happen soon, that the only way this conflict can be resolved is by having everyone fight to the death and see who wins. Or you might see this coming yourself, and you might talk to the player directly and ask them if this is how they want their character's story to go down. Ask them what they think the circumstances would have to be for their character to fight the rest of the party to the death. That way you can implement that into your game effectively. Ask whether or not they're okay with their character dying, or if their intention is to be dropped to 0, and then once knocked unconscious and coming back up, they side with the good guys again. Generally, I would say no if someone came up to me and told me that they wanted to have them and the rest of the party going after a PC. This is because I think the person who shows the most interest in a PvP and the person who is going to be most informed about when the PvP is going to come should be the person going against the party, not the party themselves, because that person going against are getting that little bit of DM knowledge. For my game, the party were going after this MacGuffin, and they wanted to, once they had gotten it, keep it in the prime material plane. Now, one of the characters were very connected to the Shadowfell, and their idea was that, oh, this item hasn't been able to be kept safe in this plane. It should be brought to the Shadowfell where it can be better protected. I could see that the party were going to have difficulty resolving this peacefully when it came down to them finally getting this item, especially as multiple party members had said that they would rather kill this PC than allow the MacGuffin to go to the Shadowfell. I then spoke to the Shadowfell PC and said, hey, would you be cool with fighting the rest of the party over this item? Is that where you think you want this to go? Would you be okay with your character potentially dying in that combat to try to get it? Luckily for me, the players said that they were interested in all of those things, which let me plan the rest of this video. Now that you know that PvP is going to come up soon, you have to decide exactly when this is going to happen. Luckily for me, due to the nature of it, I knew exactly when this was going to happen, that when the party got their hands on the MacGuffin, they were going to start fighting over it. Like I said before, either at the end of an adventure arc or at the end of a campaign. PvP should be a big moment. This is a group of people who've been traveling together, potentially for a very long time, unable to solve their differences peacefully, and now have resorted to conflict. It should be a very dramatic, very emotional moment. It shouldn't just happen over something very small at a very random moment. A great way to add to that drama and to heighten it to the extreme is to do what I did and make it your final encounter of the campaign. As I was planning my final fight and I was putting in the stages, if you want to learn more about stages, you can watch my last video, but I knew that the final stage of the fight wasn't going to be my bad guy, it was going to be the PC. And so I tried to balance the fight around the fact that this is what was going to happen. Now, if you try to do the same thing I did, you're probably going to find that your PC, your evil PC, is going to die incredibly quickly. That's because they've burned their spell slots and they've lost a lot of hit points, and so has the rest of the party, but the party also has so many more attacks that they can do that it's just so easy for them to wipe them out. And that's not really what you want to happen. You probably do want the good part of the party to win. However, you don't want it to be a super easy fight. You want to have enough time to build the drama of it. This really should feel like another boss fight. So we need to figure out a good way on how to balance it. What I did in my game is that I told the evil player ahead of time, hey, by the way, don't use really a lot of your spell slots until the PvP starts. Try to hold on to those. And throughout the entire fight, I didn't hit them once. Instead, I was focusing on the rest of the party. I was trying to knock down all of their hit points, bring them to low health. And so, when the bad guy was killed, all of them were at pretty low health and could be taken out by the evil PC. But also, the PC also had their full hit points, so it would take a couple turns to bring her all the way to 0. Now, even if I had just done that, the party would have still probably easily defeated her because they had stuff like Hold Person and a bunch of other spells they could have used to just lock her down and make her unable to fight. Which is why, when we went into this encounter, I brought in some NPCs to help her help be part of the fight that were loyal to her. And so, when the bad guy was killed and everyone started fighting, I had 2 people there who could kind of help out a little bit and knock people out of concentration while not necessarily being the main encounter. And this ended up leading the encounter to be incredibly close. Every single party member died or went down except for one before the evil PC went down. And it felt really, really dramatic. No one really had noticed up to that point that she hadn't been hit, which is also a big thing to try to make sure that the party don't notice. A good way I did that is that I was attacking her allies, and so I think the party just associated me attacking her allies with me attacking her. And I also didn't really get the chance to do a lot of damage to all of them. I think one of them I only hit once before they went down. So no one really noticed that I had not weakened her at all. But also because they had all of these turns of trying to fight her and trying to take her down, it became this really fun climactic thing where they're yelling at each other back and forth and they're arguing their sides. And that's exactly how I wanted to balance it. I wanted the evil PC to lose, but I wanted there to be that legitimate chance. I wanted to worry that she might win, and I genuinely was worried that she could have won. And yeah, like I said, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to happen. It ended up working out perfectly. Now, could she have won? Most definitely. If she had just gotten a little bit luckier and had played with a little more strategy, she could have defeated all of them, and that would have led to an evil ending. But even if that had happened, it was so close that it would have felt fair to everybody. You really want it to be a close, fair fight. If the evil player is so obviously going to lose and has no chance whatsoever at winning, it's not really fun for them. It's not like they get to show off fighting off against the rest of them. If the heroes get absolutely wrecked, well, they could feel cheated from that, where it's like, oh, well, how are we supposed to stand a chance because she had all this stuff on her side? I gave her all of that stuff because I knew the party were strong enough, and it's a difficult thing to balance, but if you just play by the roles and adjust things as they need to be adjusted, you can probably get it right. The main difficulty with trying to balance a fight like this is that if I'm just doing a regular bad guy fight, I can adjust the hit points as I need to make things work. Because it's a PC combat, I can only change the NPCs that are fighting alongside her and their health and what they're doing. If I, a round or two in, realize that I really did need to do some damage to her, I don't really have a lot of opportunities to do more damage before the party get swept. PvP is a tool, and as a DM, you should use it sparingly. It can be a really fun encounter to have one player go up against the rest of the players. However, there are some risks to it, and if you do it often enough, you lose the impact of it. You lose the whole point of why it's fun, is because it's this rare encounter that you don't really get to do. It's fun for the evil PC because they get to do something that they never normally get to do, and it's fun for the rest of the party because you have this emotional, difficult moment, and again, in a fun encounter where normally you don't fight someone with player levels. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you want to support this channel, the best thing you can do is click that subscribe button. As you can see today, I'm in a different room as I'm testing out a different microphone and different room quality. I don't know if it's less echoey or not. But yeah, thank you again, and this is the end of the video.